And we'll call the village trustees for North Bennington meeting to order. First item on the agenda is review of the minutes from February and approval. Anybody have any questions? There was one amendment that already went.
I thought they were very well written.
I agree with that.
I thought they were
Especially
very
this
well adapted. I approve them.
Well, I think can we have a motion by somebody other than the author?
Oh, you wrote that.
I wrote them, she adapted them.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of Tuesday, February 13.
I have to abstain because I was not at the meeting.
I'll second that. I don't think there's any issue there. And any opposed? Hearing no objection, we'll consider those minutes adopted and move on to the warrant.
I just have one question. What's the Wind River Environmental?
That was like the Vector. It's actually Hardigan. They're just merged, changed.
Okay.
That was the pipe across from North Bennington Variety they plugged. And actually, that's kind of a weird deal because they came down. The truck didn't work, the jetter, and the guy was going home. And then when they had this water main break out here, they needed to vacuum out a water shut off. And Ted came over and said, "Can you please come and help us? We're in a jam." So I brought the truck over there. So they went home doing really nothing for us. The guy's got to bill us, but he's coming back down. We've already got a scheduled date and he owes us 6 hours. And so anyways, instead of doing that, we're gonna suck out the DIs on Main Street where it's a lot more powerful with that unit. So, but that's what they're.
And that's when we had the thaw and all that all flooded over there, right?
Yeah, there's
Right?
rocks stuck in that. We still gotta get them out.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve if there's no additions, to approve the warrant for March.
Second.
Okay. Any objection? No objection. The motion is so accepted.
I've got a copy we can sign.
And we also had received the payroll warrant and cash balances, so if we could look at the payroll warrant and then if somebody wants to make a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll warrant for $9,032.58.
I'll second.
Any objection to that? Okay, the payroll warrant is so approved without objection. Okay. Just a second, bear with me. Okay. And do we have any citizen comment tonight? Okay,
I'm not a citizen, technically.
all right.
She's a guest.
Excellent. Well, you're a citizen, just maybe not of North Bennington.
I'm an honorary citizen.
Excellent.
Citizen of the world.
Yeah. Let me think where the best place to put my stuff is. Maybe under citizen comment, do we want to try and address the proposal that,
Yeah, I was
Mary?
going to make some comments on that when I got a chance, but if you'd like.
there isn't a specific agenda item, and I think that is
Okay.
kind of a
Okay.
citizen proposal, so.
Perfect.
If you would, Anybody wants
to talk about that under the new
I
business.
just have to look at it to remember the name of it. This would
Yes, I apologize, I didn't even bring a second one for myself.
This would be in relation to the climate solutions resolution, which is, there's been a couple of municipalities that have approved this resolution. It's proposed, I think, by a citizen group, but with assistance, I think, from, it's a similar, I think each municipality can change it as they see fit, but it's a request to,
Basically, it's what it is, it's trying to affirm that the citizens within each community agree and support the state's 350 energy goals of the 90% renewable by 2030, of which Mark and I are learning that we are falling woefully short. And so this is, what this would require, and the reason I brought it up to John is to discuss here and whether the trustees would permit myself and other members of our citizens committee to circulate a petition. We need 5%. I'd like to verify this with Lori, but my understanding is we need 5% of the registered voters in the town to, there's only a couple of lines on that
Right, I
page.
got you.
But there is additional pages, and that if we could get 5% of the citizens of North Bennington to do this, then it would come back here, and it would then go on to up to the state. But we didn't want to just circulate a petition without.
Does it become a ballot article at some point for the community
No,
vote?
this is just simply an affirmation of acknowledging the issue and affirming these goals. The next step that our small group would do is then, the next thing I would like to do is I'd like to also ask permission to address, have a small address at our annual meeting next week, and just talk briefly about who our group is, what our mission is, and mention this along with a couple of our other things, and then begin to circulate that petition, just begin at that meeting, and then we'll think of other places to go around, perhaps up at the store, the post office, something like that. Shaftesbury has done this, Manchester has done this, so there are people on our energy group in Shaftesbury who have done this in their community, and they're willing to help me kind of guide along the way to find out how to do that. It really is step one in getting awareness out of the issue, and that there are goals, but just stating there's a goal is just like, putting up a sign somewhere. It doesn't mean anything unless you do something about it.
So, the state's initiative is a 90% renewable by 2050, and this petition is looking for a commit to 100% by 30. It's kind of putting a little more pressure on and trying to take it to a grassroots level rather than from the state down. Get the local groups to
Yeah.
become the soldiers of yeah.
I mean, it is certainly an ambitious goal. It is not a policy document.
Right.
There are no recommendations of how you do it. It's just, do we agree that this is an issue and that we can we can put our voice along with others to say, yes, we believe the state needs to be serious about this goal, and it needs to be more than just lip service and a passing thing that people say and then never pay any more attention to.
But I think as a, representative of a constituency, that I certainly believe that our constituency believes strongly that that needs to happen and would support aggressive goals toward reducing emissions, as well as any other, trying to get as much toward efficiency as we can through the state. And, a lot of these things are state level things, but if they know that there's local support, then they can be comfortable maybe having more aggressive targets. So, but not that a citizen ballot request, or not a ballot request, but a citizen action like this doesn't need our approval, but in my view, it represents the thinking of my constituency anyway. I just am trying to speak for myself, but.
Do we have a vote to support it? You want to do
I
that?
think I think once the signatures,
Yeah,
then it'll be submitted for
I
us.
just wanted to,
Yep. Go.
in fairness and in courtesy, let you know what this was before we have people standing about, and
Yeah.
trying to trying to provide education to others. But the overall goal of the little energy action committee that we're forming is really one of education and awareness. It's not a policy-making goal at all. And so helping people understand what information is available to help them find out how can they weatherize, how can they find out something about EVs or public transportation or whatever it happens to be, solar, heat pumps, any number of options that are out there.
Yeah.
Because one method will never fit everyone and solve the problem. So,
Well, I'm very supportive.
thank you. Well, then our committee will undertake that. Thank you.
Great.
Is this your copy?
It is, but.
You can keep that. I
No, I
have
was gonna
another
give that to
one.
me.
No, I do have another one. I just didn't print it out.
We also have a request by, we've discussed a potential project for signage in the village by one of our resident artists, Joe Cicciarillo, who is here tonight to give us a little bit more information on the status of that grant request, which I believe is due within the next week, Joe, or?
It's due on Monday.
Okay.
I was hoping to get here for the last meeting, but it didn't happen. Because.
We didn't have a
If you don't
meeting.
mind if I come up?
Please,
I have
please.
these little, these 3D sketches of some of this that is kind of informative. So this would be, like I said, these are sketches. They're not like models. Like a model would be a replica, right?
Gotcha.
These are ideas. And so there would be two of those. One would be at Western Water, and the other one, I think there's a little bit of confusion about where it would be, but I think it would be where the moose is now, the moose with the, foliage.
Or maybe across on the other corner.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, it's up for grabs where it would be. Trying to create more obstructions to north and north.
Yeah.
Right, Norm? Isn't that what you and I always talk about? Mowing obstructions.
Just wonderful, Joe.
No. I think what we would do, if this gets funded by the state, is that each one of these things would have like a concrete pad, that would be around it, so that it would, have like a border.
Run your zero turn right around it.
So this is a sketch of the kiosk sign. I don't know if everyone can see it. So the idea here is that, you know, this would be like a cabinet, a glass-covered cabinet with, you know, it had a little roof on it. And then, you know, there'd be a concrete pad around it. And then this would be actually cut out of steel. It's
So that'd
not-
be similar to what the Bennington College sign coming in? the
No,
steel cut-
no,
is that
I
like a
mean,
steel cutout sign?
the idea at the moment, and what I'm proposing, which is one of the reasons I was trying to get here last month, is that the idea is to put it in Veterans Park. So, okay, you go down, you're walking into Veterans Park on the left-hand side.
Yep.
On the right-hand side is all the memorial stuff. On the right-hand side, there's really nothing there. The only problem with that is there are a couple of small trees that may need to, you know, need their firewood. They're not big. They're only like this big.
Joe, you know what kind of silliness that statement?
That could be
is
silly.
in This village.
Why is that so? There are a couple of trees there that are in the
Loves that
way.
idea.
This is
We
part of
could
the tree
prove
committee.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
This is part of our tree committee right here.
Uh-huh. Well, depending on how close you want to have it next to the sidewalk, depends on if any trees need to be removed. If it goes very close to where the sidewalk is right now, then no trees have to, it won't be a problem. If it goes back towards Cage's building, then, you know, something will have to, there's a lot of stuff.
Those are things we can worry
We
about.
can work that
Anyhow,
all out.
so just, you know, generally speaking, I just wanted to come in. There's no guarantee this is gonna actually get funded by the state, but I would say we have a good chance. We're in competition with Bennington. Bennington is putting in a request for this exact same thing, and they made it to the second round too, for the water park.
Oh, yeah.
It's a sculpture for the water park that they're proposing. They haven't proposed a sculpture. I don't know the status of that. Matt is working on that. I don't know what's going on with it. But I don't know. I know they want to give some money down here because, as we all know, and I'll say this to the camera, you know, all the money in the state is like Montpelier and Burlington, especially when it comes to the arts. I don't know about anything else, but so I know that the Vermont Arts Council is interested in funding something down here, and I don't know. I'm not really sure how this project in Bennington is animating infrastructure. I mean, I'm all for sculpture. But the idea of making a sculpture in the water park doesn't really sound like infrastructure exactly. Whereas this is more infrastructure-esque. But then again, I'm prejudiced.
And you're allowed to be.
But in terms of, I think one of the main things that I really wanted to talk about is, you know, if anyone has a problem with or an idea about where these things would actually go, these are good things to discuss because the timeline for this thing, even if it does get funded, it probably won't even get started to be until September. So there's plenty of time. And,
So your plan for a location doesn't, you getting this approved doesn't hinge on having a set location for it?
I mean,
As long as it's within the
I
village.
told them this is where it's going, but I don't think that they know, you know, they're in.
Sure, yeah, that-
Montpelier, they
yep.
know what I'm talking about. So I don't know that really is, no.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I don't think it's set in stone. Although John recommended Veterans Park, and when I went over and looked, I thought it was actually a good idea. On the left side, there's really not a lot over there.
So I guess I have three things about this project. So I agree that where is a question for the trustees as far as,
Absolutely.
and I think that from our perspective, at least I think, and I don't speak for the board, but here we are at a public meeting so we can get that pulse, is that I think that the board supports a project like this in whatever right of way or municipal space that we have in the village. As long as it's not, you know, replacing something that we already had, you know, if you're
Right.
saying like pull out a fountain or do, or, you know, something like that, then, you know, that's a whole different
Well, if we
discussion,
pull out
but
the
we're.
fountain, then I just want to build another fountain.
Right, so but where there's
Just
space,
kidding, Norm.
we would support that. So where, I think that, I agree with you that infrastructure is important from my perspective as well, because I think that while I think we support art for art's sake projects, that that's sort of a different request. I think that we sometimes get requests for art projects and we fund those. Those can often come as requests to the voters at an annual meeting, though, to be put onto an annual meeting or funded in some other way. But this, I really do believe that this is infrastructure for the town, given that it's important in terms of permanent signage, but also functionality where people can learn, can be connected to the community, which is something that we've really been searching for. And I know that the roundtable is interested in developing as well. And then, so I think those two things would need to work hand in hand. Yeah, okay, so.
Well, it's just a couple of things in addition. One, I didn't concede from looking at them. I tried to integrate the two things so that they sort of make sense, like the three things will kind of work together. And that's one part of it. And the other thing is, more importantly, you know, I want this thing to be a good, if this happens, you know, I want it to be a good thing for the town. You know, I don't want to spend my time and be responsible for something everyone hates. So I don't need that, you know. I could easily do that, but no, seriously, I think that it's important to figure out where it's going to go and have it evolve in conjunction with, you know, what people think is going to work for everyone. So, that said, I can send you pictures of these if you want, you know, or if I do have JPEGs of them, but I thought it'd be better to bring it in rather than bring in a piece of paper.
So
I'd like to have those as well, so I could just be looking at those, kind of as we're looking at this basis.
Yeah.
What about material? Is it gonna be iron or copper or
It's steel. And it's hard to describe this exactly in the model, but in the sketch, but I have about 30 of these amazing cutouts from huge sprockets. They're hard to describe. They're big steel wheels. They're really just perimeter, you know, radiuses that are the outside of a big sprocket. And there was a sprocket place on Bowen Street, over by the Little League field over there, that was here for a long time. They made baking equipment or something like this. I actually looked into it. But I got these from somebody up in Shasbury before they moved to Texas. The farm where Mighty Foods is now,
Yeah.
there were thousands of these sprocket cutouts up there. I should have bought every single one of them. I was a fool. I only bought like 30 of them. They are amazing. They're incredibly beautiful. And what it is the outside is just like a circle, but the inside is cut out like sort of like a wave, and then they machine the points afterwards. So I was thinking, finally, you know, if I get this, I have an excuse to use those. I've been saving them. So a lot of these arts will be those things. And then it's possible that I could add, it's pretty likely that I could add some other found objects that have some kind of local relevance into the structure. But, you know, it's hard to communicate that at that
Gotcha.
scale. But That's in the grant too, but it's nice that the sprockets came from here in the first place. Even though nobody seems to remember this place, I did find online that it closed in 2003. There was, Pete wrote a big article about the closing of the place. It was it was a TAC or something, it's a Japanese company. And the sprocket division was here. You ever hear of this?
USD.
Say it again?
UST?
Yeah. But the name of the company is like Tashin Mushi,
Yeah.
something like this, so you know about it.
UST was
T
US.
is the US is the division of this company. Well, it's good, I'm glad you know about it. Anyhow, that's my spiel, if any, but I'm kind of done unless anybody has it, they'll let you guys talk.
I love it. I think it's
Oh, thanks.
really, could be great, and I also, trust your eye and ability to, we don't want to micromanage the art, right?
No, but I
But
think
the
it's
elements,
reasonable.
the elements
Yeah.
of information providing, I think are important for us to, if we have an opinion about, but when it comes to, the whole point is for you to.
Well, any public art has to be involved with the community, and people are gonna have some kind of conversation about it. I mean, it's just the way it is, and it's the right way for it to happen. So we can just continue this conversation. We'll see what happens. If they decide to fund it, then we can have further conversations about it.
Very cool. As far as
All right.
as far as the funding side goes, I think
Yes.
that we do, I think because it is an infrastructure project, that we have the ability to allocate funds to that. But we can also, I think we can also, as a board, approve, a certain amount of money. But I think that's a little bit dependent on how the grant goes. I mean, I think if we said we were gonna commit $5,000 and then the state came back and said they weren't gonna fund it, or they'd fund like $500, and then you wanted to do a $5,500 project, I'm not sure that's I don't know if that's what you'd want either, because I think we'd be looking for something bigger than that.
What are you seeking in the grant?
Last year, they gave out 4 grants for $15,000 each. They didn't give out anything smaller or anything bigger. They gave out 4 for $15,000. Honestly, I'm busy. If they don't want to fund this like in any kind of meaningful way,
Yeah.
I'll just consider it to be, a little side journey, and that's the end of that. But it is important that they understand that the community is behind this. I mean, in terms of this proposal. So, the amount of money I get from the village is in a way, at the moment right now, not really relevant. What's more relevant is that the village is interested and maybe can come up with some money for this. That, for the state, the more backing I have from the community, the better. I have a letter from Matthew, I have a letter from the round table, I have a letter from John, and then I also have applied to the fund for a grant. So all these things will go in the application showing that the community is behind it, which is a huge part of these things. So
without knowing, I didn't know if we were gonna have a meeting before he submitted the grant. And so
yeah, it's
what
good. I mean, it doesn't work.
I felt like we could allocate $3,000 without really having an approval of the board, because it's just.
Because it's infrastructure.
Yeah.
Funding of at least $3,000 to ensure its completion. I think that's.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that?
that's fine for now. I think that shows commitment from North Bennington, and that's what we're looking for.
Everybody's comfortable with that?
Oh, yeah, no, I fully support it.
Coming out of the recreation budget anyway. so.
We can talk about that. So then we'll talk about increasing that.
There's signs.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've been telling people my new slogan for North Bennington, a place where things are possible.
Hey, you got it, man.
It's a good one.
Is that going somewhere, is that going somewhere on the
What's the
side?
original copy, or do you, is the?
It's gonna go out
Scan
as,
it.
PDF, so,
Okay, cool.
thank you, but I don't need it. All right, well, hopefully the next time we talk, we'll be above 65 out,
Yeah.
and there's no ice.
Next week, right? Or next week.
I'd be all right with that. 60 on Friday.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay,
else?
and
Okay.
I don't have anything else that would fall under citizens' comment. I have one citizen type thing that'll come with the highway, but I think if I could, I can switch the, do you mind staying? You can go through the highway first.
All right.
So, Mr. LeBlanc, could you give us a update on the highway department?
Well, obviously, we're still in the middle of winter, as we know last Sunday, which has been a pretty expensive winter for us as far as materials is concerned. We're started pruning back, cutting back a lot of stuff. The branches and the little twigs, you'll see us around the village picking up stuff. We were on Water Street today, that real bad corner. So we had to have some traffic control. Got that. We've got the power company actually coming next Monday. So we'll be back over there. There's some trees that are up in the wires. They're just these junk things, and we're just gonna get rid of them all. So other than that, that's pretty much.
I know it's kind of a combination treasurer, highway question, but in terms of the winter being expensive, can you give us an idea of like what we budgeted for salt and where and how we came with that and where we're ending at, where we're looking to end up, hopefully?
We budgeted 24,000 and we are not quite there yet.
Okay.
Darn close. We might actually have made it with this thing here, but
20 or 25, did you say?
we budgeted 24.
Okay.
I thought that was for next year.
No, I thought we did last year too.
That's even better.
Well, anyway.
We're way better than I thought.
I know
I
when
thought
I
we were
looked
still
at it
around
for last
16.
time, we had not yet bumped the current year's budget. So hold on, I'll tell you where we are.
And where are we in the shed? Norm, are we toward the end of
What's
a
that?
Are we toward the end of a load in the shed, or are we at the right
No,
halfway?
we're where we want to be at this time of year. You know, we probably got 4 or 5 truckloads in there, 6. You know, we got a couple storms
Great.
we can deal with. You know, obviously, in the spring of the year, the sun's higher, melts faster, so you don't have to use as much. You go on side streets, whether people like it or didn't want to agree with it. But we have some small dead-end streets without hills that are flat that you just plow. Maybe you do a sand salt mix or something, and you know, or you just plow them off and hope for the best. It's Vermont. It's winter, right? We get it.
Right.
So, you know, in any dangerous situation, we have to deal with it. We have this time of year with the melting, freezing at night. You know, just be aware when people are driving around. You know, we check those spots, the bad spots, every morning, but we're not going to babysit them every day. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. So we're going to warm up to 60 degrees. We're going to start losing it. I'm hopeful we don't have a lot of cellar flooding like we did earlier. You know, the year that was pretty bad for 6 or 7 residents that I know of around town.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and that's about it. We got a couple of little projects that we want to start on. Mark will talk about it. We had the Upper West Street project. I'm meeting with one of the homeowners this week. I just received an email so I can email the second landowner that will be in conjunction to that. That's one of those projects where, you know, even if the landowners don't like it, we're still well within our right of way to do it, and that road's breaking apart. But let's hopefully we can have a nice, wonderful understanding between everybody before we have to play that card.
And are we gonna try to do an incorporation of some off-street parking in the?
No, not on that one. That's not part of the sketch that we got with the state.
Yeah,
Well, this would be something we'd do in addition, so that we could preserve the road a little better instead of,
I think they touch each other, those two ideas touch each other, but they're not, we want to move forward with this
yeah.
ditch and culvert project to make sure that we're not losing that road more than we already are. But on the other side of the road, on the Mile Around Wood side, I think we would like to see what the status is there. It may be that the fund or the
Covenants and all
McCullough
that.
House says we can't, there's nothing we can do, you can't put a car, you can't drive a car there. But they, if that's not the case, then, you know, if
We'll pursue that in the next few months.
there's something, I mean, if we are gonna end up paving there, we might wanna think about extending the paving a little on that side so that we don't get that drop off right there.
Well, if we ever get to where we can afford to pave that street, which would be nice, the hard part is with me, and I know there's a couple of high-end homes out there, but there's only a couple. You know, that we have other streets with multiple dwellings on it.
Yeah.
A lot higher traffic, and we can certainly get the planning commission to do a traffic count on it. And if it is, you know, great, then maybe we would move it up on the priority list. But if we did, I completely agree with boxing out if you're looking down West Street towards the McCullough Mansion, boxing out the right-hand side where they all park and pave that.
Yeah.
So people aren't driving on and off
Yeah.
the blacktop and breaking. Well, you know, we have a water main up there that is considerably old, it's very deep. And, you know, so even since I've been here, it's probably broke 4 or 5 times. Not through any fault, except it's old and it's deep. So that's just something that I would really caution us about, is, you know, the roller pounding on it. You know, there's some other issues, and then it just breaking and getting our new blacktop dug up. That's just unfortunate. It's happening right out here.
All right.
And there isn't any, I'm just looking at the map for the water project this summer, and
I don't think there's any
there's
extension
nothing
on
near there that's being touched, so. Okay.
But that road's pretty shabby. I mean, it certainly.
Well, and the
needs some
problem is,
attention.
it's not there are a couple potholes that need attention, but it's getting like all down a line and in a rut so that you can't really patch that. It's like, you know,
It needs to be
100 feet
paved.
long or something, so.
Oh, man.
And now that it's in that state, the water just channels right in there and
Freezes.
makes it worse and worse and worse.
Freezes it, yeah, absolutely.
So any, you know, homeowner that's watching, we know that is happening, and we're, you know, working to figure out how to budget for it, so.
I mean, that goes back into that idea we had talked about a couple days ago. You know, maybe that's where it's all rolled up into one big pile, and
It could be. So we're discussing the issue of, you know, whether the village wants to allocate a certain amount of money for projects year after year after year, or whether you say it's gonna be cheaper for everybody if we lump all of those projects together and do a bond and pay for it year after year, but have it all done at once for a cheaper rate, hopefully. I mean, you pay less for the paving job because you're a bigger user at that point, but then you also are paying less in interest over the term. Although if you pay, well, anyway, okay, you get the point.
And then you can move forward on a better maintenance schedule. Once you get all new, then you go.
well, again, so when
Unless we're maxed out.
I took the job, probably 10 years before that, where they stop, but previous to that, the village would pave on an average of a mile a year. And so that's, let's just call it, that's been 20 years, because I've been here over 10, and so 10 years we've stopped. You know, like Mechanic Street, that's a perfect example, that got paved when we graduated high school. The base coat, and the top coat is coming next year. We're still waiting for the top. You know, and it's just, it's the prices of things that went, you know, up with everything else, and, you know, and trying to keep it in. We paved from the lower part of our street, we paved Church. You know, if we did Upper West and Hall, really that corner of the village is paved.
Yeah.
And those are some pretty long streets, so they would get us some quantity, which would hopefully cut down the price. They're not terrible. West is worse than Hall. We chip sealed Hall once and got that, and then we need to, you know, start going on some other areas again in conjunction. You know, whether we decide, you know, there's water mains under every street and they break. It's just the way it is, and you know, it's usually, it's an unfortunate event that they always break right after you pay. But that's not because they want them to. It's just, that's just what happens.
Do you know, just a small thing, do you know if Zach did brush on Harlan Road today?
On Harlan Road, no, we did it the other day.
Where the dip, where the big dip
Yeah, that's-
is.
Oh, yeah.
That's-
Does that need a cone or something there, do you think? Or-
Yeah, well, you
Used to put
we
a sign
put bump
up there.
signs out. I actually thought about doing it today, and we just got.
Okay, so maybe
We had
tomorrow or the next day or something.
Traffic control and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, it would, after the 60-degree weather, it will all lay back down.
It's worse now than it was all winter though.
We'll try to get a couple signs out there tomorrow. We screw them to the telephone pole on one side.
Oh, okay, great, perfect.
We're hopeful. There's a couple of bad ones, and there's a few more after all this water construction. But that's been a bad one, and there's another one just up from Matt's house, coming down Prospect, that's gonna take your teeth out of
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you, Norm.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Excuse me. Yes, before Norm goes, one of these little things that overlap between treasurer and highway, just in case I'm saying this wrong. Norm helped me work on this the other week, and it's the annual financial plan for the highways that we submit to the state. Apparently, we do this every year, but if we did it in previous years, I don't have a copy of what we did. But basically, it's just a very rough estimate of some general categories of expenses that we had put in this upcoming financial plan to be voted on by the village. And the state uses this information that they compile from everybody to figure out what their reimbursement rates are for the highways. Like, we get $30,000 this year, and this is to help determine what amounts of money we get next year. So we came up with winter maintenance of $54,000, non-winter maintenance of $35,000, general paving and sealing of $45,000, culvert rehab and repair of $10,000, and West Street drainage of $10,000 for $154,000 in total. Our budget for the whole highway department is more than that, but this does not include payroll, personnel, and everything else. This is just those specific things, so.
I do remember going through that calculation.
If that sounds right, Norm,
I'm sure you did.
I got that right?
it. Yep.
Okay, then I will just send this to
Great.
everybody.
You should also, are you gonna email that to us?
Yes,
Okay, because
I'll just scan it for you guys.
for another process, which is the FEMA
Mhm.
side that the state, we have to sit down and fill that out. So I'll just forward that to Chris.
Which was
Maybe
my
that'll-
next question,
And
is,
that'll,
do
maybe
we-
they solve that.
which was my next question, have we ever heard from them on when we're gonna get our reimbursement for that Water Street culvert? We never got any,
I thought we did.
no? I never saw anything.
We'll come by, we'll go
Okay.
talk to them
Okay,
this week or next week. When we got free time, we'll go.
okay.
Because we got We got one check. We did get one check.
What I remember us getting was from the previous year, that 4th of July.
Yes, because they had, and I'm glad that you're keeping track of it, because they had a problem with how they approved it, and it was muddled up in the feds, and what they were gonna basically do, if the upper state bureaucracy didn't approve it, they were going to fund it themselves here, because they had already said, yes, go ahead and do it. So we should follow.
I'll put that on my
So
list
that
and I
will
will
be
come see you this week.
Good.
And since he mentioned it, I'll just touch on, well, I met with Norm earlier this week or in the last week, last week. So we went through the process last year of trying to get approved to get some of that fill from the project down on 67 to move to Welling Field to level that field out, and that fell through. And then I got another lead on possibly tapping into the water project up on Mechanic Street, which I haven't heard back from. And I met with Norm, and we've recently acquired a piece of equipment that he feels we could do it ourselves. And instead of the process of bringing things in, which I know there was some issue with, with all the PFOA issues with bringing things into a park, this would actually be a process of taking material out as opposed to adding material. So instead of matching the low ground with the high ground, possibly bringing down the high ground and just leveling it all off. And in the process, getting the same result, a flat, usable, continuous field. And from the looks of it, we're gonna wait until, we just talked about it last week, so we're gonna wait until the snow goes, and we'll go up there and take a look. I'm gonna tap into a local resident that could possibly do some transit work for us to see what would go into it. Yeah, yep. Yeah, we wouldn't obviously make any decisions on this until then, but it could be a project we start tapping into when the weather turns, if we find we can.
I mean, ideally, you wouldn't want to get rid of the material unless it was good material. You'd almost,
No, I think what we do.
It would be more of a moving of the material,
you're
not.
equaling it out.
Yes. Yeah, it would
Right,
be.
we would,
You don't want to dispose
we
of
would
it.
disc it all.
No.
With a local contractor, Michael Meyer, that has a set of discs. They go behind the bulldozer that we just acquired, and we disc it all. We have a wonderful person named Ted Morris, who's a retired guy from Peckham, who he grew up running them things. He loves it. He's probably one of the best older operators in this town, hands down. Anybody that runs anything will tell you that. And then Big A's a dozer man from a long way back, and between those guys, we just let them on their own and go and seed it when it's done, and they'll shape that field, make it all nice, and then if that works out well, then I want to meet with the girls that do the flowers down at the Henry Bridge, and maybe we can tune up that field. That field looks great when you drive out from the road, but if you're actually mowing across it, it'll knock the teeth right out of your head. So if we can shape that up in pieces and parts of the whole thing, it would be a huge improvement for us. And there is some drainage issues there that maybe we can fix that at the same time.
And beyond even the discomfort to the guys, which obviously we are concerned about, I mean, the wear and tear of mowing that field down there on our equipment, it would be a money saver as well, so.
And the Henry Bridge field is more like a bowl, so we wouldn't expect, that's not gonna run water and sheet it right off. That's either gonna pitch it probably to actually from the river to the road, and then down in the ditch that's existing, and then around. That'll take a little more thought, to do. The biggest expense that we would have, we just bought for next to nothing.
Well, I think that is a place where they're gonna dig across as in the extension, or the.
Yeah, but that's just a slot trench and that's it.
Yeah, and the other thing we thought about too, when we were talking about this, is we could, in moving the earth there, we could increase that bank,
Could burn it up a little more, although you
which would
can't
make
mess
it,
with.
which would make it a little tougher for people to drive on there and vandalize like we've hit it every year, a couple times a year anyway. So we could possibly get it. We could get rid of
Well,
the
you mean
fence.
at your park?
Yes, down here. So we could get rid of the fence that's gonna get rid of itself here soon anyway, because it's falling down. And if we could get that to a point where cars could not drive up in there, we've solved that problem as well. So, potential.
Good, let's keep looking into that.
Okay, great, and
Thanks, Tom.
thank you very much. Treasurer report, please.
Well, thank you for the highway annual plan. I sent you all the information on the warrants, the warrant detail and the cash balances. The other piece of business I have under treasurer is to sign the anticipation note, basically a promissory note for the bond anticipation, the 2.195 million for the water project coming in. There's a resolution that requires your signature, mine and Lori's, and then there's just another one, basically terms and conditions that requires you, board signatures now. So if I can pass these around, I should have them marked. Lori, do you have a couple of paper clips, and I'll put a little paper clip on the pages that people need to sign? That. Thank you. I think that was all
So,
I
do you know,
had for
Mary, do you know, is it seems unfortunate, but, so the water board meets a week after we do instead of the week before we do, but, is it the case that sometimes I guess the engineer's office is kind of spearheading the communication between USDA or whoever the grant is administered through and the water department, but do they prepare documents and get them for a water board meeting, and then there's a big lag of time because we don't have a meeting until the next month, and is that why? I feel like we could be more efficient about making sure that if we have documents that we need to sign, that we're doing it in a timely manner, because we certainly want, since we've decided to do this, we want to do it and get signatures when we need to get them. And I think it's just unfortunate timing that their meeting is a week after ours instead of a week before, because if they met and then knew what they needed signed, and then we had a meeting the very next week, I think it would be a lot easier, but it seems like there's been a lag on several of these.
And some of this is kind of like the cart before the horse, because
Yeah.
all of this money stuff has to be available ahead of time.
Yeah.
So there may be actual project steps that are planned. I know there has been some expenditures made for this project for the engineers, but I'm not aware of timeline for shovels going in the ground.
Okay, so, but you're
But
not
this all
hearing,
this all had to be done. We had kind of like a pre-approval, just saying
Yeah.
that we were gonna go to this bank. And then this bank needed information
Okay.
from us and they were actually waiting to hope that we would have audited results done, which we don't. But I sent 5 years worth of annual reports and they used all of those instead.
okay,
And then it was just waiting for this meeting because we didn't have an official meeting
yeah,
where everybody was around last time. So now it's here, and
okay,
after this is in place, funds are available to be drawn from on Thursday. And it is entirely possible, but I have not yet spoken with Steve Goodrich and the Water Department Board, but they probably will need to reimburse themselves for their engineering fees in order to meet their upcoming normal bills. So they will probably need to tap into this even before any shovels go into the ground on it.
Yep. Okay,
So these are
we'll go ahead and sign
all
those.
the
Okay.
things there. Just sort of, I'm just trying to keep them in order, but if you just go by the paper clips, you'll find that. And then the only other thing I was gonna talk about was our annual meeting, but I'll wait until our new business for that.
So next on the agenda is DRB. If there's anything,
We haven't had a meeting since a few months ago, and it doesn't seem like there's anything new to report on that one.
okay. Planning.
So is there any, is there a point, who's the chair of the DRB right now is Jim
Jim.
Sullivan? And do you know if he is in contact with Chris Damon at all on?
I'm sure he is. We just haven't gotten contacted by Chris about any DRB-related issues in the past couple of months.
Okay. Okay. All right, so, did you just say planning commission? Is there a planning commission,
No.
Okay.
Nothing going on.
and I believe all trustees are invited to the fireman's ball. If anybody, did anybody get these, or did I get all of them?
You get them all.
It happens to fall on a weekend that I'm free this year, so I'm planning to attend with my wife, and hopefully Iris might be available that evening.
Calendar.
I cannot attend. I thought the zoning board show that to me.
So that's April 6th.
It's a good feast.
All right. Okay, and water board, I don't, other than we're signing those documents, I think that we're good there. And any other business before the trustees tonight?
Well, I would just say, I was just thinking about your comments with regards to this, and I think there probably should be, because there's going to be some very large sums of money spent on this, and although it's all managed by the water department and their engineers, you guys are the ones that are signing for this, and you're responsible for it. So I
Yeah.
think it might be some nice somehow. I don't
You mean like having the water board come to our meeting and
Yeah,
explain it
or
to populace?
somehow get a method of, so that you're always aware of what's being spent on this. Because all of this is deposited, when funds are withdrawn from the line of credit, they're going into a water department account, and they'll be managed there and reimbursed there. But ultimately, it's the village that is responsible for repayment of this line, because that grant will come to the village. So somehow, it probably would be good if there was some method where you all on this board are fully informed of the expenses that are going out on
Yes,
this
that
project.
would involve them coming to us and telling us what's going on. As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think, I've had pretty regular contact with both the board and Craig Jewett, the engineer, or the sort of the local engineer for Otter Creek, so I'm comfortable with how that's been going. I do agree with you that it needs to continue that way, especially once expenses are starting to be made. The water board is a fiduciary. They're required to act in the you know, best interest of the ratepayers and the people that are, you know, members of that system, and, you know, as the trustees are to the village. So I think that system is in place. It's not like we've delegated the spending and the reimbursement of this to some person that could just run away with it. It's a board that's a fiduciary and beholden to our residents, and more than our residents, you know, the residents of Shasberry and the college that use the system. But I agree that I'll communicate with the chair of the water board to make sure that maybe a written report monthly would be
Useful.
yeah, even if it's by email, but just say, here's the status of the project this month, here's any expenses that have been made and reimbursements that have been made, and that's pretty much what we would need.
Well, they're gonna have a clerk of the works there doing, they have
Right,
to
it wouldn't-
submit
that
those
would be
reports
easy.
anyway.
And then the only other thing I was gonna ask is, are we gonna put up a sandwich board for our annual meeting? I don't know if you were gonna talk about the annual meeting that's next week or not.
Right, I think we're all set for the meeting. You know, the warning has been posted, and the report is out. Hopefully people will attend.
Do you have a board? You don't have a board?
I thought we had a sandwich board somewhere.
I
We
have
did, we had a
one.
vote, one that's.
It just says vote today.
Oh, it's not one we can put letters in?
I don't think so.
Not really.
What's yours, like just a thing?
I just
that
have
can
one
put
that
up?
you can paint.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd have to do that to ours too.
Maybe the library could put something on theirs?
I will ask them.
Okay.
Yes, I will do that. That's a good.
Next Tuesday night, 7:30, at the school, is the annual North Bennington annual meeting. Please come. There might be goodies.
Pastries.
It should be good.
You making a pie?
I'll make some.
Gonna try. We'll see. Kate's gotta try all that day. Any other business?
I got one executive thing.
Okay, I have an executive session matter as well on, it's, employee,
Personnel matter.
Personnel?
yeah.
Well, I'm trying to organize maybe a green up day again this year.
Oh,
So
good.
with the college, I've already been in touch with them, so hopefully we'll get something going.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, so, I think it would be good to, is it possible to go into executive session, then come back on
Yeah,
afterwards?
yeah. I usually just turn the mic down and point it at the clock or something, and people can go if you want to
Is that-
do it that way.
Don't point at the clock, it's wrong.
Is that all right with everybody?
That's fine.
Okay, so we'll move into motion.
I'll make a motion to move into exec. Open session?
I'll second it.
Without objection. We have moved back into open session, and just to inform the citizens or the public, is that we did have an executive discussion off the record, but, and I intended to come back on to the record to discuss what we had discussed, if there were parts of it that were in the public interest and were not required to be held private because of financial matters, but everything that was discussed in in executive session was financial in nature, and it ended up that it was not necessary to come back in public session. So we thank everybody for their time, and we'll
Motion to adjourn.
adjourn the meeting at this time.
Second.
Second, and without objection, we'll stand in adjournment. All right.